Hi friends, welcome to our channel. Here we are going to look at problem 4001, Aggregate Two Time Series. We are going to use this problem to demonstrate the use of two-pointer method. Actually, the problem statement looks complex. However, if you could abstract it into the standard two-pointer scheme, solving the problem would be rather straightforward. In this video, I'm going to uh, correspond the problem statement with the coding uh, up to length. So this way, you are going to look at or witness the correspondence between the coding and the problem statement. Hopefully, this will deepen your understanding. So here we are given two time series. One is time series 1 and the other is time series 2. So each element in both series is the form of a timestamp and a value. So here timestamp is an integer representing the time, and the value is an integer representing the value at that timestamp. So here an assumption is that each array is sorted in strictly increasing order of timestamps. So in other words, all the times within each time series is distinct in particular and increasing, right? So here, for any time series not present in a time series, its value is taken from the next available timestamp in the time series, if one exists. Otherwise, its value is considered 0, right? This is an important sentence. So we are going to map it to the coding. So let's read it again. So for any timestamp not present in time series, its value is taken from the next available timestamp in the same time series if one exists. For the last one, and it might be 0, but this is in some sense redundant. So the aggregated series is formed by summing the corresponding values from both series at every timestamp that appears in either series. So I would say we are also going to adopt this convention in the result. In other words, if a time is not present, its value is to be the next one available, right? So we want to return the aggregate time series as a 2D integer array of same pair sorted in strictly increasing order. So actually, so you can think of this. So the prototype problem should be something like this. So let me right here. So if you know this coding problem, that is combine two sorted list, right? This is a very standard problem. You can solve using two-pointer. So here in this problem, the complexity is here. We have a value and we have this assumption. I would say this assumption is rather straightforward. So here, let me put it here, right? So later we are going to use that. So here, this point is taken from next, right? So that's the key point. So this determines the format of aggregating. Aggregation, right? So aggregation. So actually, after we finish this coding, so you can sync up or follow up. What if we use not next, but the previous value, right? So in this statement, then the coding should be slightly different. So now if you look at the example 1, right, and time 1, so you have 3, but for this one you have no time 1, but you have 2, so you are going to use 2, so 3 plus 2 is 5. At time 2 you have 2 here, but this one you have 4, you should use this 1, so you get 3. And then you are going to use this 4, but this does not have a 4 in time series 2, so we're going to the value 2, so 1 plus 2, that is 3. So for 5, so we're going to use 2 here, but here is no 5, but it's just end, so we're going to use 0. So this gives 2. So similarly, you can analyze example 2 and example 3. Here, I'm not going to go completely through the constraints because the first one is a problem size quantization. The second one is some eligibility, right? So the value and time will be strictly positive. Each series is sorted in strictly increasing order of time step as in the statement. So with that said, I hope that you are confident now to coding out the problem. So here, let me share my solution here. First, I'm going to initialize a result variable. So this is the final state of this variable is what we are going to return. And then I'm going to have m and n. So it's the length of series 1, length of series 2, right? So then we have a pointer, so we start from the left. So now what we are going to do is, let's see, well, I is less than m. So here I'm using add, j is less than m, right? So here we have the time 1 and the v1 from series 1. And then we have time 2 and v2 from series 2. So now let's see, we consider the relation between T1 and T2, right? So if T1 is less than T2, then we're going to add a time stamp T1 to the result. But for the first time series, we're going to use V1. But for the second time series, we're going to use V2 because the value is taken from the next available, right? So this V, we're going to do result append. The time is T1, and the value will be V1 plus V2, right? But once we've done this, because time series 1 corresponding to a smaller time, so we're going to increment I by 1. So another case, so T1 equals T2. So in this case, it's rather straightforward, right? So we are going to append. So either T1 or T2 because they are the same, and the value should be added together. So then, in this case, we are using the 2 data points simultaneously. Therefore, we should update I and j simultaneously. So it's I plus 1 and j plus 1, right? So another case is T1 is greater than T2. So in this case, we are going to append symmetrically, so T2. And then we use V2. And then for time series 1, we are going to use the next available one because T1 is greater than T2. We're going to use the T1. So this is still V1, right? So this if else block so correspond to this one. The if the if block correspond to this paragraph in the problem statement, right? Then for this one, I'm going to increment j by 1. So, but this is not done yet because so here this should be n because the 2 time series might be not of the same length. For example, in example 1, this is the same length, but for this one, so one has length 1 and the other has length 2, right? So, but one of them, the short one, should be run out first. So now we have 2 if block. If I is less than m. In other words, the second series is shorter, and then we just left the first, the tail of the first one. Then we are going to add to the result. So for k in range the current I state up to m. So we do result append series 1, the k, right? So then if j is less than n, so we get for k in range, so j to m, right? Result append series k. The same thing. So essentially, only one of the if block is not empty, or sometimes maybe both are empty because if they have the same length, right, and simultaneously finish. So with that said, So we just need to return the result. So before we submit, let me first run it. Series. Let's see. Let's correct the series. Let me copy this one. This is also I, right? So series 2. Should be G, right? Now let's run. Still series. Let's see, line 35. So here is series 1, this series 2. Let me run. Yeah, it passes the 3 cases, right? So it identical result, because the result should be unique. So now let me submit. Yeah, it passes all the cases. So let me give you a quick summary. So first, if you have, or you could map this problem to combine 2 sorted lists, so you basically half solved the problem. Then once you can identify this part to the if-else block in the coding, so you get the key point, then coding out should be rather straightforward. So here a follow-up is that here we are using next one. So because this assumption greatly simplifies the problem. So what if I want to use the previous one, right? So you should modify this if and else part. So this is actually a good exercise, but it's still in some sense straightforward. So with that said, I guess that's it for the current video and problem. Thank you for watching.